Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
TokenMetrics is a cryptocurrency investment platform that helps users leverage machine learning to become better crypto investors. Our in-depth analysis helps eliminate the emotions of investing, find profitable investment opportunities, and filters out scams.
I think for you, Alexander, I mean, also for me, I suppose it's not good. It's awful.
It's incredibly depressing story. What I'm going to simply say is this: we now have a uniparty as well in Britain. I mean, once upon a time, in a universe far away and long ago, we had two parties in Britain. We had two parties that alternated in power. We had the Labour Party, which was based in the trade unions and represented organised labour and had the votes of working class people in all its constituencies and had social democratic or socialistic policies. And we had the Conservative Party, which was anchored in the middle class and part of the working class and had the support of the establishment and all that kind of thing. Well, we don't have anything like that anymore. It's all based on an incredibly narrow demographic, basically concentrated very much in the area where I live, in North London. I mean, it's a North London mafia, basically, that runs Britain. Incredibly narrow, incredibly London-centric, incredibly globalist in its conceptions and attitudes, incredibly uninterested in the life of the country outside London, in fact, hostile to it. And we have a situation where there is an almost overwhelming sense of malaise at every level. There's now admissions that the economy is in bad shape. Inflation is probably higher than it is in other places. There's admissions that productivity is lousy. There's a total sabotage of the entire Brexit program, which the cynicism and anger that is creating should not be underestimated.
Yep.
And of course, we have a Labour opposition that is essentially no different from the government, and we have strikes and we have protests. Now, I have to say this is such an extreme concentration of power in such a narrow group of people at a time when the overall society is fading, that there's a sense that things are going wrong at almost every conceivable level, that there is a massive opening for some political force to move in. And I'm not saying that's going to happen immediately, but I mean, that's how it looks to me. So I think we are probably not far from a political revolution here in Britain. I don't know what Rich's views about this are, but I think we are closer to that point than I've ever known it to be. I mean, revolutions don't happen when people are energized and angry and all that kind of thing so much as when people are exhausted and demoralized and cynicism has taken hold and the political class and the institutions that prop it up have lost all respect and all legitimacy. And that's, it seems to me, where we are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the coverage that I've been doing on my channel, apart from the odd cryptocurrency, has been more about the injections and COVID and the ramifications of that and following that discourse. And I think just drawing from that, more and more people are going to get pissed off. More and more people are waking up to the harm that the injections are doing, and then how they've been played by the UK Gov. They had on UK Gov website had statistics from the MHRA yellow card reporting scheme for injection injuries. They scrubbed the documents. And now with Twitter, and Elon Musk posted yesterday that he himself was hurt by the injections, and one of his cousins ended up with myocarditis. And where people can post freely, I think that is going to drive something. That and the 15-minute cities, because where I live is in the city that I'm in is very likely, given its local politics. I saw something where the local MP was talking about how 15-minute cities are going to make life better for us. No, they're not. They're not. And I think that's also going to push up more and more resistance. Then there was something Sajid Javid said that we're going to have to pay for visits to the GP and A&E. Now, Tom, whether or not I'm not talking about the politics or the implications of having a national health system, but people here are really, really attached to their national health system. There's no way they're going to go. And then the thing that I think I said this in a previous video, that I think what's the play is, the WEF play is to have the Tories destroy the economy, do so badly, so awfully badly. Along comes Keir Starmer's Labour with a massive majority saying that they're going to replace the House of Lords with the People's Assembly, which would ordinarily yield to the radicals, but using it as a device to get rid of common law, the 1689 Bill of Rights protections, and then what we have is the sort of constitution that the WEF likes. They've filled it with WEF lackeys. That's what I'm wondering about. As a lawyer, you may have more to say. It's like, please God, don't let them.
I'm absolutely willing to believe that is the agenda. The only thing I would say is there's an enormous problem with it, and that is this: that there isn't a flicker of enthusiasm anywhere in Britain for Keir Starmer. I mean, this is if people vote for him, it will not be because they like him or want him to succeed or anything like that. I mean, when Tony Blair won in '97. To be straightforward about it. By the way, I'm going to say something which I've been saying it recently, but I've kept it to myself because for a long time I was a member of the Labour Party. I was a member of the Labour Party at the time. I was so opposed to Tony Blair back in '97. I knew that he was going to be awful, that I arranged to take a trip to Greece to avoid voting in the election.
You did better than me, Alexander. I voted for him. What?
Well, there you go. I mean, I could immediately. So I wasn't actually here in '97.
How immensely libertarian of you, Alex, to avoid voting by going on vacation. Because don't vote, it just encourages them. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Exactly. But the fact was, whatever one thinks of that time and that election, there was genuine popular enthusiasm for Blair. I mean, there was this brief period when people really believed in him. They thought that he would change things. I mean, they didn't realize the kind of person he really was.
Right.
Nobody thinks that about Starmer today. I mean, the Guardian tries to puff him up every so often, but even they don't do it with any real conviction. So yes, I could see that. I could see Conservatives imploding. And by the way, I should say something else, which is that I'm hearing from people who are closer to the centres of power than I am, that levels of corruption now have just got out of control. There's a widespread feeling within the Conservative Party, its fringes, that they're out, they're going to lose badly. So we've got 2 years left, perhaps. Let's make as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and then we go. There is that mood is starting to settle in. So yes, I can see the Conservative Party imploding, and I can see a sort of creaking, lumbering Labour Party coming in with what looks like a big majority.
I think more like
it will be so fragile.
Sliding. Sorry, Alexander.
Yes.
More like sliding.
But a party like
fragile.
Yeah,
it would be so fragile.
But when a party like the Tories collapses with a low energy, support for labor, like you have something that we don't have here in the United States. I make this point all the time. You have a low barrier to entry to starting a new political party. Like it doesn't cost you billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to get on a ballot in office.
That is exactly the point. That's exactly why I said there is a massive political opening.
Exactly.
Now,
and I've been watching this. I'm watching Nigel Farage start a new party and get 4% of the vote. I'm like, we can't do that here.
Yeah,
no. It costs you all of your activists' money.
Yes.
To start a grassroots party here. Like we've walled it off, in a way that our political system is completely walled off from the people. Okay, you have to run insurgency campaigns from within the two dominant parties.
Yes,
you have that. You have something we don't have, and so for this reason, I see the corruption. There's going to be a lot of people in the middle tiers and the upper tiers of the Tory party going, let's just get what we want. But the ERG group and the rest of and the backbenchers, I see those guys going, the Tories are done. It's like the Whigs becoming Republicans. Like this is the moment when 80 or 90 MPs turn around and go, we're throwing our weight behind the Brexit Party or the Reform Party or whatever it is that that is the new vessel, or creating one of their own, and then all of that coalescing along with dissatisfied with Dems, with dissatisfied Labours, in the Midlands, that the Tories won, in the last election. I think there's a coalition there that could easily come up and all of a sudden surprise everybody. But
absolutely.
I don't know British politics well enough to know that that's the case.
Just on that,
I think that's entirely right, by the way.
I did recently do an interview with David Curtin, leader of the Heritage Party, tiny traditional conservative party, and also the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom, another tiny traditional conservative party. There's George Galloway's Workers' Party, which, by the way, I'm reaching out to. Please reply. I'd love to interview somebody from there. George Galloway, you're always welcome back on my channel. Then also there's Reclaim, then there's Reform. But the risk there is that you have just lots and lots of small.
No, they all got to form an alliance.
Yeah,
they all have to get together and have a conversation at quote unquote the Red Roof Inn in the Lake City. We'll host you over here. Y'all come over here and you hammer it out and you come up with a platform. That's what needs to happen. And it's the same thing with the Libertarians and the Greens 20 years ago, saying we're against the war. We need to run together in regional elections and start, making our political voice felt. And guess what? The Greens told us to go scratch.
Yeah, well,
because they were backed by globalists.
Yeah,
but go ahead, Alex. You were going to say.
No, I think this is entirely right. There is an opening. I'm not sure who's going to fill it. That's the problem. Right. But there is such a state of decay. This is where it's different from the US, by the way. I mean, in the US, there is still political energy. I have to admit, even within the Democrats, there is political energy, and there is a lot of political energy in the Republican Party. Within the Conservative and Labour parties, at least the leaderships at the moment, there is none. There is a lot of intrigue, but never ever confuse intrigue, such as you see, especially at the top of the Conservative Party, with real energy, because it's just drained away. There is a state of decay, and you read it in only puff pieces sometimes for Starmer in The Guardian, and they are so untypical of how most of the media is writing here.
Yeah,
that when you see them, you notice
they're not lighting people up. No one's, because I noticed that they were puffing up Keir Starmer and stuff like that, and it didn't fly. It just didn't fly.
No.
I want to go back to something you said, Alexander, because we used to do lots of videos in the run up to Brexit, and yes, we finally got out, right, sort of ish.
Yeah.
But you said there's a lot of cynicism and anger about the moves to go back into Brexit, because all I see are polls about how people want to go back and breed Brexit, and how, from what you've said, Tom, how the EU wants Britain back in as a vassal state to the EU so they can suck it dry of what little riches are left in order to keep their dying behemoth alive. But say more about the cynicism. And
I mean, you shouldn't believe that. You shouldn't believe these are polls. I mean, remember that in the run up to the Brexit referendum, it looked as if Remain was going to win and win, by a clear margin, and of course, instead they lost. I mean, the fact is, look at the behaviour of the two big parties. Not what they're actually doing, but what they're saying. They're both saying that they support Brexit now. Even Keir Starmer is saying it. So he knows perfectly well that if you're talking about the working class constituencies, the red wall constituencies, he's not going to win there. He's not going to win there if he appears to be reversing Brexit. But of course, everybody knows that that's actually what the whole agenda is. So it's not difficult to work this out. If you spend any time following politics, tracking politics, seeing the way politicians act, you can see that they feel that they've got a scorpion by the tail. That on the one hand, they're afraid of doing that which they want to do and are going to do and talking about it clearly, but at the same time, they have that compulsion to do it anyway. So there is cynicism and there is certainly anger. And who is striking? Who are the people who are striking? The railway workers, the postal workers, all those kinds of people. Don't forget, they are the people who voted Brexit. This is, again, something which isn't overlooked.
And these are the people that voted for that gave Boris Johnson a massive majority in the Midlands.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that the Labour Party is not appealing to.
No.
And the Labour Party isn't attracting and isn't supporting any strikes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. No. Okay. Do you want to take it across to Europe? Anything you want to say about the project?
I mean, I have to say, I mean, we've now had even Emmanuel Macron has now done a great interview